Hi, my name is Koku with blackfilm.com, and I am here with Will Packer, the producer of the breakout hit and 8-episode limited series, Fight Night, The Million Dollar Heist. It is streaming on Peacock now with the season finale airing on October 10th. Will Packer, Mr. Packer, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to talk about this.
I'm so excited to talk with you about this. I mean, this series it's just been such a part of my life since it debuted. I'm
I
so into
love
it.
it.
And by the way, I actually went to the New York premiere.
Hey,
Yeah,
okay,
and
awesome. So you got to see how we did our little fashion show and had all the stars out and in the
let me tell you
70s
something.
gear.
I had on my 70s gear. I had on my 70s wig, poofed out and everything.
Let's
I was dressed
go.
very much so in the I followed the directions and it was so fun. And it was actually like a moment where I've not seen a moment like that in New York in a very long time. It was truly like a Black Hollywood moment. And I'm telling you, like I go to premieres at like the Apollo and things like that. Nothing has been on this level. And I mean, everybody was having a good time. And it was the first time in a long time I saw people actually dancing.
Yeah, you know what? That means everything because that was so important.
Yeah.
It actually ties into the way that we approached this series. We
Hmm.
felt like we've got a really unique opportunity to do everything top notch, to
Hmm.
make sure that we're telling an authentic story in an authentic way with the absolute best actors possible to portray
Yes.
that. And so, from the execution of the series, from the hair, makeup, wardrobe, locations, all the way through to the premiere that you're talking about,
Hmm.
we were painstaking in terms of our attention to detail and making sure that this felt like a top notch A+ moment for Black
Hmm.
cinema.
So good. And just like you said, I mean, the level of talent that you have here and the acting. I mean, this is like an A-list Hollywood dream, right? And I mean, to the extent where I'm sure many people had FOMO, like, why didn't I get cast in this? It had to been like I had
Oh,
to
I
be
got
that thing.
those calls.
I'm sure
Oh
you did.
yeah.
So, I mean, being able to like reunite Taraji and Terrence Howard, having Don Cheadle, Samuel L. Jackson, these are individuals that don't necessarily, not all of them anyway, do television series, right? So having them commit to a series as opposed to a project that could be a film that does, take up their time, but a series does take up more time. And as you know, obviously you would know that better than I would. But how do you get all these folks to commit to something like that?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. You have to understand that, this is a much longer undertaking
Hmm.
than a film
Hmm.
from, obviously not just in terms of how many episodes you have, but just in terms of the production aspect. So what that means is when you're going after the top of the top, you better have some good material. You better have some good auspices, meaning like your writers and directors and producers, folks that they want to work with. We went after people that, they don't do projects just because. They don't do things just
Right.
for a payday. They do things because they want to. These are folks that are offered things all the time and they're choosing their roles very particularly
Hmm.
as they should. And
Hmm.
so, typically you make a wish list. You put who you want at the top of the
Hmm.
list for every character based on, the character, the skill set, the look, all those things. And you say, okay, we'll see if we can get any of them. And then, if we don't, we'll cast the rest of them. This was one of those rare instances where we got everybody that was at the top of our list. And that's
Wow.
incredible. And that rarely happens.
Of course. And then the other unique thing here is that, we've seen movies where that have been, adaptations from perhaps other movies like, or TV series. You see movies that have been adapted from books, just or different little maybe true crime pieces or different things like that. It's very rare. And in this particular world, maybe you might even see like a YouTube limited series that becomes something that becomes major on in this platform. But I mean, a movie that's been adapted from a podcast, I mean,
Right.
like you just don't hear about that. So for you, it's so different, conceptually, what made you say, this is going to work and, and to not sort of like shoo it away because it's so different to do.
Yeah. What's interesting is that in the industry today, IP is so important because there is such an oversaturation of content. Audiences have so many more choices than they ever did before.
Hmm.
You want something that's going to be able to stand out in some way.
Hmm.
And that is why media companies and financiers always look for projects that have some IP attached to them.
Hmm.
And in this instance, we created our own IP
Hmm.
because this was a story that had been pitched to me, a story I didn't know, was very fascinated by. I went out and got the life rights to the characters involved, the
Mm-hmm.
JD character and the Chicken Man character,
Mm-hmm.
and then went out and created a podcast in order to do two things. One was to let us see what the execution of a multi-part, multi-POV narrative would look
Mm-hmm.
like.
Mm-hmm.
The second thing was exactly what you're talking about, which is creating IP that we could then go and sell our studio partners, our actors, right? When we called Sam Jackson, we were able to say not just that, hey, it's an incredible story and this is
Yeah.
the way we want to tell it, but we could say, hey, here's the podcast that gives you a sense of how
Mm-hmm.
this story went down and kind of how we want to tell it. So
Mm-hmm.
it served multi purposes for us. I think you're going to start seeing more of that approach from filmmakers and
Mm-hmm.
producers who are trying to be creative in how they get projects made.
Mm-hmm. No, I know people that were fans of the podcast anyway. Like many people were putting me onto it before we even knew that there was going to be this type of project going on.
That's awesome. I love
Yeah,
that.
for sure. So here's another thing. Like, when someone is acting in something, and like, when you look at somebody like Kevin Hart, I mean, he's very much so a very, very main character in this show, but he's also a producer as well. What do you think about the work ethic of someone like that that's able to do the behind the scenes thing, but then be 100% in front of the camera as well? Like, there just aren't that many people that are just built to do something like that. So what is it like to work with a Kevin Hart who's just really willing to be present in so many aspects?
Yeah, it's so true. I mean, it's not talked about enough,
Mm-hmm.
the work that goes into a project like this for
Mm-hmm.
somebody that is acting and producing. Obviously, he had me as a partner, holding him down, but you're
Mm-hmm.
talking about, a guy who has a famously unrelenting work ethic.
Yeah.
And for him to come in and do not just act in a project, but to take on a role that was very different than anything he had done before. He, had to take off his comedy hat, and even though he brings levity to the role, it is a dramatic role, and
Yeah.
that is the lens through which we see his character, Chicken Man.
Hmm.
And I think that is what makes it so good. It makes it so refreshing. I think this is some of Kevin's best work. I really do.
I do.
But he
I
was
do too.
also a very, capable and producing partner. He
Hmm.
did a great job with that because when it was time to get these actors, it was Kevin and I together making these
Mm.
personal calls to these
Hmm.
folks to say, hey, would you get down? What do you think? Would you come
Hmm.
play with us?
Hmm. So when you ask yourself, Will, when you look back, and I'm sure you have these moments from time to time when you're looking over the sunset, that kid that went to FAMU, right? Like, and you think about all the
Yes,
things that you accomplished from that moment to now, and just every single thing that you've done, and just how important that you are, like when what you've done as important as it has been to the culture. Like, do you ever just kind of like have to like sort of just like pinch yourself, like, is this real? Like, does it ever become that again?
all the time, all the time. And I really mean that. I mean, I
Yeah.
will just, look up and I look at my own name in the credits. It never gets old. It
Yeah.
really does not. And I go, wow, I just did a project with Don Cheadle,
Right.
and Sam Jackson and Taraji and Kevin Hart.
And
Like it never gets old. It really
hmm.
doesn't. But the big thing for me is
Hmm.
the audience reaction. The way
Yeah.
people are responding to this, that is the ultimate validation of all the hard work and effort. And that's when I really go, wow, look at me, a young kid from St. Pete, Florida, who went to
Oh,
Florida A&M University, who's living out his dream. Like when audiences go and say, "Oh, I'm loving your show. When's the next episode? I can't wait to catch the finale." That's what really drives it home for me.
oh man, that's so awesome. And I mean, I definitely I don't think that there's any there won't be any denying that this is definitely going to be. I mean, the acting is so top tier and top notch that this is going to probably sweep in award season. And if it doesn't, we're going to be out there protesting and making acting a fool because I mean, this was so good. But
Well,
you
thank you
also know
very
now,
much.
now we're talking about the talent that you had here that, these people that are they kind of at this particular point, they're not auditioning for anything. And that's, listen, that's a flex and it's well deserved and earned. But you did involve individuals in this that don't necessarily have the same resume as other people. Like I
That's
thought it was
right.
like when you have Lori Harvey as Lola Falana, like that's a great opportunity for us to
Yes.
see that she can also act as well. So when you give someone a chance that doesn't necessarily have the expansive resume, what makes you take that gamble with an individual?
Oh yeah. I mean, listen. You mentioned Lori Harvey. I would also say Chloe Bailey, Miles
Absolutely.
Gaskin,
Yep.
right?
Hmm.
I mean, Miles Bullock. There are people who aren't household names now. Sinqua Walls come to mind, who are that
Hmm.
next younger generation. You have to make sure, you can't just populate a movie with all, A-listers and global stars. There's just not enough to
Mm.
go around when you got a big limited series like this.
Hmm.
But I am super proud of how we balance what I call the legends and then the young gunners,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
ones who got now and the ones who got next. And you got to have both. And I'm very, very proud. I think that there are some folks in this series that you're going to look at years from now and go, remember when they, first kind of burst onto the scene
Yeah.
with that project when they played opposite, some of these bigger stars, right?
Yeah.
So I'm very proud of the cast of this film, not just from the biggest names that but also some folks that, um, obviously we've got some nice surprises and cameos in there from Debbie Allen to
Yeah.
David Banner,
Yeah.
and
David
some
Banner, I was
folks that
gonna
have been
say. Yeah.
around.
Hmm.
Yeah, Banner does his thing. So it's about balance. As a producer, you're always thinking about how to make sure that you are balancing not just the needs of the servicing of the script and the story, but also the audience. What is going to
Hmm.
keep the audience entertained and engaged? Who is going to do that? Who they're going to lean into?
What I like about projects like this for sure too is that, and I was thinking about David Banner as I was processing what you were saying, is that David Banner is not someone that we necessarily know for acting, right? But he does an incredible job in his role, and it's interesting to see people that you absolutely solidly know in one particular channel. But as to your point, you're starting to see them expand, and you're seeing that they're greater than the one thing that you know them about, even if they're incredible in that atmosphere. Like
Mm-hmm.
David Banner is, of course, an elite rapper, but now we know that David Banner also can play a dramatic or even add some subtlety to comedy in a role. So I didn't know that, So it's
Mm-hmm.
wonderful
Mm-hmm.
that you presented those opportunities to individuals.
Absolutely. Yep,
Yes.
absolutely. He's a perfect example. And he is
Mm,
somebody who I've known for a while, been close with for a while. This wasn't our first time working together.
mhm.
We worked together several times before, but I certainly think this is his best performance with me. I will say that.
That's
But David
awesome.
David Bam's got a lot more to give. We're gonna be seeing a lot from him. I really
It-
do.
it's
He's serious about this acting thing.
for anybody to receive a compliment from you on this particular series, given the company, I think that is a great day. So I'm sure,
Yeah,
I am
well, that's the
sure
truth.
folks are. Yeah, it's an awesome project, and I happened to actually get a sneak peek, thanks to the team there, of I actually got to watch the season finale, and man, guys, like this is it's so good. It's awesome. It's what I want to say. It's just really awesome to still be excited about something new, right? To get excited about a television show that just presents an angle that we haven't seen before. That's a little unfamiliar. That's always good.
Yes. Well, again, in an oversaturated content
Yeah,
environment where audiences have so many choices, you got to keep it fresh. You
that's
got to
right.
keep it real. You got to
Mhm.
have something that makes people lean in because they got too many options. And so
Yeah,
that's what we were trying to do here. And I appreciate you saying that. I think that I'm proud of this. I really am. I think that
good.
we hit the mark.
Good. I'm so happy to hear that. Well, I thank you so much, Will, for talking with me. It's definitely been an honor. And it's so
Thank
interesting.
you.
Let me tell you something. You get this show is so hot. I have so many more people to interview that have actually been on the cast. But who knew that the first interview I get is with Mr. Will Packer himself?
There you go.
Yeah,
There you go.
there goes the flex, okay? You're like, oh, who me? No, 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 no. Yes, you, sir.
I appreciate that.
No, I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate your time, and just really I thank you for taking the time to speak with every outlet, and to treat us all as if we are also the big wigs as well. So that is
As you
something
are.
that, yeah, that is something that is never forgotten, ever.
We
That
can't do it without you. Thank you.
thank
You are the connector from us to our audiences.
thank
So
you
I appreciate you.
Thank you so much. So I'm going to wrap up now. My name is Koku with blackfilm.com. And once again, I was here with Will Packer, the producer of the breakout hidden 8-episode limited series Fight Night, The Million Dollar Heist. It is streaming right now on Peacock, guys. The season finale is airing on October 10th. You are going to enjoy it. And I'm sure you're already watching it, but if you're not, get on it right now because you are definitely missing out. Thank you so much,
Get
Mr.
on it.
Packer. Get on it,
Take
exactly. Listen,
care.
and I ain't going to tell y'all twice. No, take care. Have a good
Take
one.
care.
Take care.
Okay. Bye bye.
Bye. If you want to see more content like this on blackfilm.com, make sure you like, subscribe, and ring that bell.